Hello, my name is Sara Benmouna and I am an immigration attorney at Logica PA. I am currently in France and today we are here with attorney Harry Tapias, CEO and co-founder at Logica PA. We will be talking in this session about the advantages of hiring foreign talents in the US, and we will answer to some questions frequently asked about work visas.
Sarah, great. It's very nice to have you here. And I know you're in France today. And of course, as you know, I'm here in Miami, Florida. So we're both immigration lawyers, and we're going to be discussing some great topics, obviously. And it's really nice to do this across the Atlantic.
Yes, so the first question is, can US companies hire foreign workers?
Well, Sarah, can US companies hire foreign workers? Yes, the answer is absolutely yes. US companies can hire foreign workers. And the question we have to ask our clients is, what is the purpose? Do you need them because they have a high level of education, or is it because you need them to do some manual labor, right, Sarah?
Yes, that's correct. And foreign workers can be full-time or part-time employees. They can work remotely or in the US, as long as they have the relevant labor certification and visa.
Yeah, that's true. So there's some visas that come to mind are the H1B for people with specialized knowledge. And then there's the H2B for temporary workers, typically not requiring any university education, but people who will be doing some manual labor or some heavy lifting sometimes, H2B could be ideal for them.
Yes. Question number 2, that is, why do employers hire foreign workers, and what are the advantages of recruiting foreign talents?
So the advantage of recruiting foreign talent is it may not be so obvious, but many times the foreign talent is already in the United States. The foreign talent typically could be people from Europe or Asia that are sometimes even Africa coming into the United States. They're already studying in our universities. And because they decided to come study in the United States, they are already high performers. So they decided to come to a new continent, to a new economy, and come work and study in the United States. And that means that they already have the natural talents to do more and to do better. And so when you encounter as an employer a foreign student that wants to work for you, the advantages are amazing. They're going to be very productive because they came with a mindset to be productive. They'll be very competitive with your American workers as well, and sometimes even better.
Yes, I agree with that, especially as a foreign worker myself. So I also think that hiring foreign workers just adds a great value to any organization. That is a cultural value, and we can also use their diversity and their knowledge base to the organization. And of course, this also helps just targeting the best worker from all over the world. This just gives access to an international pool of talents by just removing geographical restrictions.
Yeah, I agree, definitely.
All right, question number 3. What kind of company hire foreign workers?
So this question is common, and many times the people who are asking this have small companies or startup companies. So the answer is any American company can request a foreign worker, so long as they have the financial ability to support their salary. And so the company doesn't need to be old, and it doesn't have to be it doesn't have to have paid income tax returns for a year, but it does need to show that it has the ability to pay a salary. So if I'm going to hire someone from India or China who maybe studied at a nearby university, or say from France, the United States wants to make sure that I'm able to support that person's salary as an employer, because obviously they're here for a career, and what the government doesn't want to do is to issue a visa that unfortunately the person's not going to be able to work because the company couldn't afford it. So if you're a young company, a startup, but you have actual funding, either by yourself, your bootstrap funding, or you have funding from actual investors, we can show that evidence. It is possible.
Yes, I totally agree. I don't have much to add. Yeah, it can be any type of company, from multinational corporations who really want the best people all over the world to just like a startup, and any little company that is able to pay the minimum wage and has a need for workers.
And Sarah, maybe we can give some examples of companies that we worked with, right? Like different types.
Yes.
We've worked with even small restaurants who have hired actual hostess or chefs. We've worked with technology companies with engineers, and so it is possible. You don't feel limited because you have a small business. Feel empowered by the power of immigration visas, non-immigrant visas that can get you the right people.
Perfect. Question number 4. How can an employer sponsor foreign worker? And we need to talk about immigrant visas like EB2 and EB3, H1B, H2B, H2A.
Yeah, Sarah. So, what do you think?
Well, depending on the needs, you can sponsor a worker for a permanent job offer or a temporary one. For example, the H1B, it's for temporary workers. It's an employment-based visa for non-immigrant workers, and you only need a job offer from a US employer to apply for the H1B. Unless you are working for a cap exempt entity, you will need to be selected in the lottery before being able to file your case. But once approved, your H1B is a work permit that allows you to work for at least 3 years and a total of 6 years if you renew it for the US petitioning employer.
Yeah, and that's interesting because a lot of our 2019 H1B cases are now reaching out to us because they need to do the next 3-year extension. So with the H1B program, like you mentioned, you do have this option of having 6 years of working in the United States, so long as you request it every 3 years. Should we talk about the permanent labor certification too?
Yes, definitely.
What are your thoughts on that?
What is the PERM? So just in brief, the PERM is a process that requires the petitioning employer to conduct a series of recruitment activity just to test the labor market before filing the application. And basically, if sufficient able, qualified worker and willing applicant from the US are not found for the position through the recruitment process, this employer can submit a PERM labor certification to sponsor a foreign workers. This certification basically allows the US company to sponsor the foreign workers for a green card through the EB2 and EB3 application, depending on the job requirements.
So essentially, it's the way that employers can keep an employee for the long term, and the 3 words are key: the permanent labor certification. Permanent meaning forever. This person can be part of this of our country. Labor meaning they're now part of the workforce, and certification meaning that the Department of Labor has approved that this person may have a green card because they promised to be working.
Yes, and this PERM is available to any type of work, from the domestic worker to the doctor. There is no specific legal requirement for the position. The employer is the one who decides what are the requirements. The employer can require a certain experience in the field, some licenses, some educational background. So it's a very flexible type of application.
And I would say one more thing, that for the United States right now, we have a huge demand for employees. Currently, there's not enough workers to fill all the roles. And even though there is a concern about a potential recession in the future, even the Federal Reserve has come on and said, hey, that it's probably going to be a soft landing because we have so much need for workers that this recession is not going to be a typical scary one. It's probably going to be something very mild. So while that's moving in the background, we still need more workers, and that's what gives me lots of confidence for the American economy.
Excellent. So we can now talk about H2A and H2Bs. H2A, they are temporary agricultural program that allows agricultural employers who anticipate a shortage of domestic workers to bring here non-immigrant foreign worker to the US and perform agricultural labor or services of a temporary or seasonal nature. The H2B is very similar, but this one concerns jobs that are non-agricultural labor services in the US. And they also have to be temporary in nature and for a limited period of time, such as a seasonal need, for example.
Yes, so those are two visas that have become very popular over the last few years, in part because of the need of like more workers in the United States. So H2A, H2B, the easy way for our audience to remember is that A stands for agriculture and B means for all other business. And what's notable is that for agricultural workers, we can apply for these visas essentially around anytime during the year, and there is no limits as to how many of these visas can be requested. Whereas H2B, there are some very specific timelines for when it can be requested, and it's essentially it can be done twice a year. And there's typically a cap of 6,000 visas, and because of this excess need, the United States has been able to make the rules a little more flexible and have added more visas recently. But employers should presume that they have the 66,000 amount visas available to all employers during the year, and so there is a lot of competition for these visas.
Excellent. Next question: how much does it cost to sponsor an immigrant worker?
Okay, so it's a lot. It's expensive, and you have to think about it this way. That what is the value that this immigrant worker is going to bring? And remember, part of the purpose of you bringing this person is not to undercut American workers' salaries, right? We're not, the system is not designed for us to bring less expensive workers into the United States in order to reduce the value of their coworker American. So this can be quite expensive, and it can be long. But the reason you're doing it is because of the high value that the employee is bringing to your company. And the question is, can you be more competitive with this talent in your company? Can you be better than the competition with this person? That's what you have to look at. And so the process, the time, it's about investment. But the value that this person is bringing to you is going to help you be more competitive in the marketplace.
Great. I don't have anything to add to this.
I should add one more. There are government fees, and government fees are also expensive. Yeah.
That's important.
Yes.
Question number 6. Are there risks of sponsoring immigrants?
Yes, there are some risks. And I would say the risk first is, are you able to pay that immigrant salary, that person's salary? Because you want to make sure you're taking care of them. They came to this country, they're being successful. Are you doing right by them? So make sure that you can pay their salary. Okay. The risk would be that if you stop paying their salary, you can get in trouble potentially if you don't report it, or you just don't inform the government that you had to fire them. But it's really more of a risk to the employee. Is it to the company? Yes, to some degree. But there's no harm in bringing employees to work for your company that are from other countries. The United States doesn't say, "Oh, you're a bad company because you're not hiring Americans." No, the system was designed to supplement workers when there isn't the right knowledge or talent in the United States. So I would say the risk is more for the employee. Make sure that the employee, you're choosing a good company, a company that cares about you and loves you and is going to give you a good salary. I would say that's the risk. And for employers, they have everything to gain.
Excellent. Last question. How do I get an employer to sponsor me in the US? Okay,
so there's a couple of ways, Sarah, and you've lived through this process, but here's what I say. Here's what I find if you are an information worker, a person typically with a university degree, and you are outside of the United States, it's very hard to find an employer to sponsor you, because let's say, for example, you're an engineer working in India and you're sending your resumes to companies like Google or Deloitte, or it's very hard for them to want to sponsor you because they don't have you in their office. So the real way to do it is to get a master's degree in the United States. So apply for a student visa, get a master's degree or at least a bachelor's. And once you're in the United States studying, you'll have access to a lot of employers that are seeking people with your knowledge. And you can get on the OPT program, the optional practical training, or the CPT program, curricular practical training, which is essentially an internship program which allows you to receive payments and work for these companies while they test you out, while they say, hey, is this person worth our investment in time? And then that's how you get it, because once they realize how good you are, they say, I want to keep you. What do I do? What must I do to keep you for the long term? And then you talk to them about H1B, you talk to them about permanent labor certifications. But you have to make the investment. Come to the United States first as a student, get that master's degree, and then the world is your oyster.
Yes, I totally agree with you on that. If you're outside, it's going to be harder, definitely, to secure a job, but you can still apply to job like you would do for any other country, especially multinational corporation. You may be transferred. There are other type of visa to just be transferred from a company abroad to the US. And of course, if you are in the US, it's even better. If you have an F1 status, just complete your optional practical training. I would say this is not an option. You have to complete it, do internships, use your CPT rights, and just build a solid relationship with your employer so that he can sponsor you for maybe a temporary visa or a permanent green card.
Well, Sara, thank you so much for being available across the pond, as we say. You're in France, we're here in Florida, and it's great that we can talk together about how people around the world can get the correct immigrant visas or non-immigrant visas into the United States. And hopefully we can do this soon.
Thank you so much, Harry. Yes, we love foreign workers, and it was really great to discuss with you on those topics. So thank you so much for this discussion, and also thank you for the people watching this video. And for more information about US visas, you can follow us on social medias. Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. We regularly share updates about immigration.
Thank you, Sara.
Thank you, Harry.